So I began doing UFO serious illustrations after my first contact with Wendell Stevens in 1980, and all through the rest of the 80s, I was doing Southwestern landscape art and UFO illustrations, both. And it was in 1991. I didn't do a UFO. I'd never done a UFO conference ever, but there was a small mini conference here in Tucson in 1991, where I thought, no, I have a collection of flying saucer art that might be halfway respectable for a UFO conference here. So they were very well received, and a couple days after doing this conference, I get a telephone call from a man who said his name was Ted Loman, and he was interested in doing a UFO TV show. And he said, speaking to me, he says, you seem to have some knowledge about this material. He says, would you consider being my co-host? And I said, absolutely not. I said, no. Ted, I said, I'm happy to let you use my UFO art in your show. I said, but I have no interest whatsoever in being a co-host or sitting in front of a television camera. I said, no, that's I like my anonymity as a UFO artist. I like the safety, security of my little studio. So no, I don't like public speaking about this. So. But it turns out Ted Loman, he came to visit me at my apartment. He's wearing an eye patch like a Caribbean pirate, and Ted had been a used car salesman. So he was not accustomed to taking no for an answer. So for the next 2 hours, Ted jawboned me into agreeing to be his co-host. And I said, I just don't like being on TV. He says, don't worry about it. He says, if we make mistakes, we'll videotape it, and if anything goes wrong, we'll just redo it. And he says, don't worry about it. So I was like, So he had a serious handicap, and with he'd had a serious accident that he'd lost the use of one eye, and his other eye was badly damaged. And I thought, well, just to be nice to this man and his disability, I can agree to do a few shows. So reluctantly, I agreed to be his co-host and at Public Access here in Tucson. And in July of 1991, we launched what was to become known as UFO AZ Talks. So it's UFO AZ Arizona, UFOs from A to Z, Arizona, Tucson. Anyway, that was our public access show.
Room for one more.
Public access television, do-it-yourself TV, has over the years earned a dubious reputation as a free haven for America's irrelevant crackpots to showcase a kaleidoscope of comic eccentricities across the video airwaves. In 1991, I found myself seduced into this world of creative craziness to co-host a show in Tucson, Arizona called UFOAZ Talks. This production was the brainstorm of Ted Loman. An unfortunate metallurgical accident some months earlier had left Ted partially blind and on permanent disability. But to give his life some renewed purpose, Ted engaged this ambitious video project, taking me, Jim Nichols, along for the ride as well. I was a freelance artist who, over the years, had produced a collection of flying saucer paintings based on numerous reported encounters. and I met Ted at a local UFO conference where some of my UFO illustrations were being displayed. As such, Ted figured my general expertise on the subject would serve his TV talk show concept. After some persistent arm twisting from Ted, I agreed to set my camera-shy reluctance aside and do a few shows for him. Just as a courtesy, of course. Our first show premiered on July 11, 1991, which by strange coincidence was the very day a mass UFO sighting was reported over Mexico City. It must have been a fortuitous omen because it wasn't long before Ted and Jim's TV enterprise took on a life of its own. Over the short span of 7 years, our live weekly TV broadcast of UFO AZ Talks matured from bantering silly flying saucer trivia to serious exopolitical discussion. In 1994, Peggy Kane joined our production team as a regular co-host, lending a balancing feminine synergy to our UFO AZ success. With a strictly volunteer crew and no budget, our show became popular on public access channels across the country. We interviewed UFO experiencers from all walks of life, from all over the world, each with their own fantastic tale to tell. I retired from the show in 1997. We never solved the UFO mystery, but all the same, UFO AZ Talks had been an excellent Jim, Ted, and Peggy adventure.
Hi, I'm Ted Loman, producer of UFO AZ. I'd like to take this time to not only thank you, the viewer of this videotape, but the provider. Before we get to the program, I'd like to let you know a little bit about who UFO AZ is and what we do. We're a television show that is funded by nobody. We have no affiliations to any clubs, groups, or associations. Our television show airs every Friday night here in Tucson, Arizona, live. We try to bring guests from around the country, around the world, to sit in on our program and kind of have it a homey type of an atmosphere. That is one of the best things that I feel that we have going for us here at UFO AZ. Many of the people that we've had on the show feel so comfortable that they feel that they can talk about anything, as if they're in your own living room. Peggy, Jim, and myself try to provide that type of an atmosphere for these people. We got started in 1991, and since 1991 we've done over about 300 shows. We travel all over the country interviewing different speakers on this widely increasing phenomena called the UFO Enigma. So with that, I hope I see you next time on one of the new exciting UFO AZ tapes. Bye for now.
In the sky, late at night, there is something burning bright. Through the trees, we can see there is someone who's in need. See his face, I know the race. He says he's from outer space. Lost his
Well, thank you for showing up. This is UFO AZ. It's a new program that Jim and I are going to bring to you. It'll be aired twice a week on Fridays and Wednesdays, and twice a month there will be a new programming. I'm Ted Loman. This is Jim Nichols.
The first World UFO Congress was held in Tucson in May of this year. It was an open forum for UFO researchers and investigators from all over the world, from South America, Soviet Union, Great Britain, Canada. It portrayed the fact that UFO activity, UFO sightings, the phenomena is something that's happening global. It's a worldwide phenomena. It's not isolated to the desert Southwest. It's not isolated to New Hampshire. It's a global event. It's a global phenomena. And we feel that we're trying to bring to the public, those who couldn't attend this program, this convention, this assembly of speakers. We're trying to share this experience with the public and let them see firsthand what these people are explaining, what these people are describing as far as alien encounters, abductions, sightings, and so forth. This has been a project that Ted was deeply involved with, and myself, and we feel like it's something we want to share with the public. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to UFO AZ. I'm Jim Nichols.
I'm Ted.
For the next 60 minutes, we'll be exploring the fascinating world of UFOs. Are UFOs real? Are they hallucinations? Are they divine? Or are they secret military aircraft? These are some of the questions we'll be examining on our program, and we intend to present a broad spectrum of facts and viewpoints and let you, the viewer, decide what is truth.
Well, thanks for showing up. We're out here on location. We've been told by a bunch of people that they've spotted evening lights or strange phenomena in the evening, whereas lights dart across the sky.
I was at a UFO conference we had here in '91 that was held at a hotel over on Broadway. And I heard this gentleman speak for the first time. And in fact, that was the first conference I'd ever attended. And he knocked my socks off.
And you had hit your art there, right?
Right.
And Shane Eden videotaped it, and I got to see your lecture and saw your art, and that's how I got in touch with you, through that artwork at the show that you had here.
Well, that was quite a connection.
Yeah.
Extraordinary.
A cosmic connection.
Cosmic
connection. Whoa.
So then it takes, if you're saying that, and as far as we know of written history, we're talking at least 2600 before BC. So what are you talking? Close to 5,000 years of structure.
I would say it goes back even further than that.
Okay.
But you can. It's a good point to pick it up because it becomes more and more obvious from that point.
Then, during all of that period of time, there was a need or a want to make a one-world government, what we are talking about now. Didn't Rome do that? Didn't Egypt do that?
Well, they did it. They did it on a certain scale, but when you look at the technology available today, particularly computers and what on a global scale, it now becomes possible to do what Rome did on one scale and what Egypt and other people have done on another scale to the planet. And I think this agenda has been unfolding for a very long time. One of the reasons I understand that people say, why don't they just come out and control us? I don't think there's that many of this group.
So you're saying that they're still here on the planet?
I think myself that we are being led to look out to the skies for extraterrestrial invasions and stuff, when I think the scam is they've never gone away.
Well, do you think that they're really afraid of losing power and position? I mean, a very, very intelligent races visiting us could have quite a change on, first of all, we're totally dependent on fossil fuels in our economy. And if they had, let's say, an energy source that was clean and even free, I mean, how would that affect our economy? Then you have the military. I mean, how can you justify tremendous expenditures of money supporting a military that's archaic by extraterrestrial standards? Then there are the world religions. I mean, and this is just, you know...
You touched on some of the most sensitive issues, Peggy. That's the real issue, I think. The government is scared to death on the religious matter. They're scared to death on the energy matter. How do you tell the people that we here in the United States developed a controlled and sustained fusion reaction in Los Alamos 17 years ago?
And here we are with Ted Loman and Jim Nichols at the...
I'm Ted Loman.
I'm Jim Nichols.
Okay.
And we're
UFO.
it's another Friday night.
We are at the 19th International UFO Congress in Laughlin, Nevada. And I've already heard Jim Nichols' great speech. Jim, can you summarize what you were referring to the other day?
You ask me these questions that are good for an hour.
I know, he summarized what you did for an hour now.
I said that Dwight Eisenhower in 1954 had contact with extraterrestrials.
That's a great encapsulation, right?
That's short and sweet.
Right.
And
there's also different corroboration on that too. There's many different people that have said that too, and has quite a bit of information that pertains to that. Jim has graciously done enough research, incredible research I should say, to be able to pull out the pictures and the facts that pertain to that case.
well, it's been a cliche over the years. You go to a UFO conference or you pick up a book and everybody, well, but of course you know about the Eisenhower contact back in the 50s. And it's like, well, no, wait a minute.
Well, everybody...
Do you know what you're saying? The President of the United States had contact with extraterrestrials. Do you have any idea what an extraordinary event that would be? That's as big, if not bigger, than Roswell. And my question is, if it really happened, is there evidence even that because of that contact, because of what happened, that it may be influencing our government even to this day?
Yeah, there's another gentleman too that's, his name's Art Campbell, a retired teacher, that has done extensive work on this, and he is, I don't think he gets enough credit for what he has done to bring this up. Like Jim says, we go to a conference, especially early on, and Bob Ebeneger and a bunch of other people would come out and say, there's this secret film of this landing, and we're going to see it, and it's film, not video, but it never surfaced. It never surfaced. So they met the big nose orange people out there on whatever.
Let me interject for a second. I think I discussed this with you, Jim. I interviewed Bob Ebeneger last year and asked him 3 times on the show what happened with the footage. There's going to be over 3,000 feet of footage. At the last hour, the government decided not to provide that. However, they did provide about 70 feet of film. And I asked him if what we saw on the...
Close Encounters?
No, it was UFOs Past, Present, and Future. If what we saw in the end was an actual craft. And he said, yes, it was. And I asked him, was that provided to you, furnished by the U.S. government? And he also confirmed that. A couple of months later, he was interviewed by somebody else, D. Andrew from another show, and he was asked the same question, and he denied it.
Well, that's Bob's shtick. He's done that for 20 years.
Now the question is, why would he admit in one show and deny in the other show, Ted?
Wow. Well, we've seen this for years. You see this waffling between the
different individuals.
No, not.
And
there's this. One year there's the approach for disclosure.
Yes.
And everybody says disclosure is imminent, and people like Bob Ebeneger become conduits for whoever their contacts are within the establishment, as they're going to be conduits for this disclosure. And you get almost to the edge, and then they pull back. And it's not just Bob Ebeneger. It's also people like Bob Exler. That's also the Disney Corporation. It's also at one point even Ringling Brothers was allegedly going to be brought into presenting a disclosure presentation that would go from city to city.
Ringling Brothers, as in the circus people?
As in the greatest show on earth.
Right.
And who would be better to put on a presentation going from city to city than Ringling Brothers, right? So they approach it and then they back off. They approach it and they back off. It makes the rest of us look like fools, but then maybe that's the whole reason.
So you're implying that this is part of the disinformation approach?
Well, it's part of the dissemination of information.
Right.
And it's a gradual. It's like the frog in the water.
Slow drip.
Yeah, you put the frog in the water, it's warm, and you just gradually turn it up, and he doesn't know the difference until he gets fried.
Right.
So that's the populace here in the United States and around the world. You turn it on, you turn it down, you don't get it too hot, don't get it too warm, just gradually. And pretty soon the government will not disclose it. They will not. There's no upside to it.
What can we do to effect disclosure? I personally, and I don't like to express my opinion as a radio host, but I don't think that's ever going to happen from the government. What can we do as citizens of this planet to be able to accomplish this?
Well, you have to get off your duff and do your own research. Don't wait for the government to spoon feed you everything. Don't wait for the church to spoon feed you. Don't wait for other people to spoon. Go out and access this information for yourself. Go and make your own determination. Don't wait for Fox Television to tell you what the truth is.
Yeah, I like Fox.
Don't wait till CNN or NBC or ABC tell you what the truth is, because we have seen firsthand the way they handle stories, and it's what they tell you on the air may be radically different between what the story actually is.
They cater for ratings, and even though that the highest rating that a person can have, a television station can have, is UFOs. That's why that you see Larry King during Sweeps Week put on UFOs, because everybody turns into it. But yet you go to your local news and they snicker and laugh and joke at it. There isn't anything I don't think that the public will do, because they've been dumbed down for so long that they don't care. They go, wow, isn't that neat? Well, I knew about that. You know, there was a crash in someplace in
New Mexico
or Utah or maybe Nevada, and it's Area 57. But at least they know area.
Right.
But you look at like shows like the X-Files that had top ratings, and it's like, and then it cooled off, and then people become totally disinterested in it, and you wonder if at some point the public is actually oversaturated with this information, and they're bored with it. Let's do something fun for a change, and then it all dies down, and then 10 years later, boom, it's hot again. So you see this hot, cold, hot. We've seen this for the last 50 years. One's hot, one's cold.
Well, Ted Loman and Jim Nichols, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome.
And continued success.
Thank you.
Take care.
But over the course of the next 7 years, our show, UFO AZ Talks, kind of took on a life of its own. And we were interviewing researchers and contactees and experiencers and people from all over the world were on our show. And over the course of those 7 years, it gave me a totally different perspective on how huge and how widespread this whole UFO phenomena truly was. So, you know, by default, it's like I become a UFO illustrator and I'm a UFO talk show co-host, and it's like I'm on this path that wants to show me how extraordinary and how expansive this whole phenomenon truly is. And I came away with a totally different perspective on the UFO phenomena and the social impact, the broad social impact that this was having. So it's like that, it was astounding to me. But in 1997, the whole issue of UFOs was tainted by the Heaven's Gate mass suicide fiasco in San Diego, where members of a UFO cult took their own lives allegedly at the bidding of gray extraterrestrials. Full mass media coverage of this lurid debacle put our TV show in the national spotlight, considering we had taped interviews with Marshall Applewhite's cult followers months earlier.
Joining us now from Tucson, Arizona is Ted Loman. He hosts his own UFO radio show. Ted was partially blinded in an accident in 1989, not UFO related. A read on this bizarre story.
Larry, I met these people. They came into Tucson, and I interviewed them for my television show. And
you have the tapes?
Pardon me? Yes, I do. And
are you going to release them?
Yes. And the picture that Whitley's been talking about, I have a picture of that, of them about 20 years ago, if your cameraman can pick it up.
This group, okay.
This is Bo and Peep.
Do you, either of you, think this hurts or helps, this whole UFO concept? Tom, Ted, you think it hurts or helps?
I think it needs to get the information out according to what they said to get it out, instead of the media, so that they will know. No, it shouldn't hurt the UFO community at all.
Ted pressed ahead with his show, but I'd had enough. After 17 years of UFO research, illustrations, and TV talk shows, the Heaven's Gate scandal left me angry and disillusioned. That same year, Bob Dean's disclosure initiative faltered into disarray. Obviously, no matter how compelling the evidence, no matter how credible the witnesses, serious UFO disclosure was doomed to be forever ridiculed, reduced, and marginalized into inconsequential nonsense by anonymous political forces that seemed virtually omnipotent. So once again I decided to withdraw into a very private life, much removed from ufology, and there I stayed for the next 13 years.